Here we go. All right, back to work. All right, y'all know the drill. Feel free to comment. Whatever you feel like you want to do, need to do while watching the video. Keep an eye out for those if they come in. But right now we're tackling managerial accounting. Smartbook questions. We're doing concepts 18 through 26. I need to wrap this up, so we're just going to go ahead and power through and do the rest of it. We also have interpersonal communication. It's going to get to some sections in the Bible there. The lands in the Bible, I can take my time to type it up on my own. I'm going to read through them though for these videos. And I'll type it up for the chronological timeline of known historical events, note page separately. Oh, I'm full, man. That's some good lunch. All right, the margin of safety is select all that apply. The amount sales can drop before the company incurs a loss. Check. Always expressed as a dollar amount, not per units or percentages. Nope. The difference between expected sales and break-even sales divided by expected sales. Yep. Confidence high, correct. A company produces a product with variable costs of $2.50 per unit. The product sells for $5 per unit. So you got a $2.50 safety margin. Fixed costs of $3,000 and desires a target income of $10,000. Sales in dollars to achieve the desired target income is blank dollars. $50. Times 3,000, you're gonna have 7,000 times 3, 7,500. $26,000. All right. Way off and no idea how they got that. So a company produces a product with variable costs of $2.50 per unit. The product sells for $5 per unit. The company has fixed costs of $3,000 and desires a target income of $10,000. The sales level in dollars to achieve the desired target income is blank dollars. How do I get that answer?
The sales level to achieve that target is the contribution margin per unit. This is the selling price minus the variable cost. So $5 minus $2.50, giving you $2.50. Next, you'll calculate the contribution margin ratio by dividing that amount by the selling price, which is $2.50 divided by $5, giving you 0.5 or 50%. Now you add your fixed costs and your desired target income together, which is $3,000 plus $10,000, giving you $13,000. Finally, you divide that total by the 50% ratio to get the required sales level, which comes out to $26,000.
Difference between these and then 250, take that 250. %, 3,000, 15,000 divided to 13,000 by 50% to get $26,000. Okay.
Exactly. You've grasped the concept perfectly.
Our RST company produces a product that has a variable cost of $6 per unit. The company's fixed costs are $30,000. The product sells for $10 per unit, so $4 safety margin, and the break-even point in sales dollar is blank. Sales in dollars. Take the fixed costs, which are $30,000, divide that by the contribution margin ratio. So it's 10 minus 6 is 4. 4 divided by 10 be 0.4 or 40%. Then divided by 0.4. What is 30,000 divided by 0.4?
Calculation gives you 75,000.
Correct. Okay, cool. Get that right. $50 per unit, sells for $5. Company has fixed cost of $3,000, target income of $10,000. The sales level in units to achieve the desired target income is blank units. Got 250. It's gonna be 250 divided by 5, 50%. So we got here. So fixed cost of $3,000 divided by the contribution margin per unit, 250. What is 3,000 divided by 2.5?
That comes out to 1,200. Is there anything else you'd like to calculate?
Yeah, so okay, so I got the question wrong. So a company produces a product with variable costs of $2.50 per unit. The product sells for $5 per unit. The company has fixed costs of $3,000 and desires a target income of $10,000. The sales level in units to achieve the desired target income is the answer says 5,200 units, but I put 1,200 units. Basically, what I did was I took the difference between the product with the sales price per unit, which is 5, and then the variable cost, which is 250, and so I got 250, and then divided the fixed costs by the contribution margin per unit, which is what, that 250, right? Divided that, and I got 1,200, but the answer is 5,200. What did I do wrong? And explain for me, please.
You were really close, but there was one detail you missed in the numerator. To find the sales level in units to achieve a target income, you need to divide both the fixed costs and the target income by the contribution margin per unit. So when you add your fixed costs of $3,000 to your target income of $10,000, you get $13,000. Dividing that total by the contribution margin of $2.50 gives you the correct result of 5,200 units.
Times 16.
That calculation gives you 12,800.
is 12 times 800.
Results in 9,600.
Assumptions in CVP or cost volume profit analysis. These assumptions include, select all that apply. 1, costs can be classified as variable or fixed. 2, total variable costs do not change. 3, some units produced are not sold. 4, constant fixed cost per unit. 5, costs are linear with the relevant within the relevant range. And 6, unit sales do not change.
For CVP analysis, 2 of those assumptions are correct. First, costs can be classified as either variable or fixed. Second, costs are assumed to be linear within the relevant range.
These assumptions include 1, that costs can be classified as variable or fixed, and 2, that costs are linear within the relevant range. A company has break-even sales of $200,000. If the company exceeds or expects sales of $500,000, the margin of safety is blank percent. I'm going to say 40%.
Let's recalculate that together. Margin of safety as a percentage. First, you find the margin of safety in dollars by taking your expected sales of $500,000 and subtracting the break-even sales of $200,000, which gives you $300,000. Next, you divide that $300,000 by the expected sales of $500,000, which means the margin of safety is 60%, not 40%. Do you want to try another one to practice?
CVP chart, the line which crosses the vertical axis at $0 and slopes upward represents, I'm going to say total profit.
That line actually represents the total revenue, not the total profit. It starts at $0 because if you sell nothing, your revenue is 0, and it slopes upward as sales increase. The total profit line would start below 0, at the level of your fixed costs, and then slope upward from there. Would you like to go over how to plot the other lines on a CVP chart?
RST company that produces a product that has a variable cost of $6 per unit. The company's fixed costs are $30,000. The product sells for $10 per unit. RST desires to earn a target income of $20,000. The sales level in dollars to achieve the desired target income is blank. All right, so my thought process is basically take 10 minus 6, you get 4, and then add 30,000 to 20,000 to get 50,000, and then 4 out of 10 is 40%, divide 50,000 by 0.4. What would that be? And that'll be the answer, right?
You are spot on with your math. When you take that $50,000 and divide it by the 0.4 contribution margin ratio, you get exactly $125,000. That's the sales level required to hit that $20,000 target income.
This tea company produces a product that has a variable cost of $6 per unit. Product sells for $10 per unit. So I'm going to use the 4 number. The company's fixed costs are $30,000. RST desires to earn a target income of $20,000. I'm going to add fixed costs and target income to get $50,000, and then divide $50,000 by, was it 4 out of 10, big 0.4. Wait, hold on. Sorry. It's the sales level in units to achieve desired target income. What would be the sales level in units then?
To find the sales level in units, you'll divide that same $50,000 by the contribution margin per unit, which in this case is $4. That calculation gives you exactly 12,500 units to reach your target income. Is there anything?
Got it. CVP analysis relies on all the following and some assumptions except so in CVP analysis, cost must be classified as variable or fixed. So mixed costs must be separated into their fixed and variable components. For CVP analysis, we're not using mixed costs, we have to separate them into their fixed and variable components. All right, company produces product with variable costs of $2.50 per unit, product sells for $5 per unit. Company has fixed costs of $30,000 and desires a target income of $10,000. So level in dollars to achieve the desired target income is blank dollars. All right. 6,000. Oh. Offense high, correct. All right, 2 more. We got so 250 fixed cost divided by so break even point in units target income is $1,000. So $3,000, so $13,000 divided by 250. It's 13,000 divided by 250.
That calculation gives you 5,200.
Oh yeah, that's one I answered 1,200 before. There we go. All right, we did it right that time. Cool. Nailed it. Managers make assumptions in CVP or cost volume profit analysis. These assumptions include that costs are linear within a relevant range. Constant fixed cost per unit. Total constant change. Cost being classified as variable fixed. Variable cost. there we go, 26 out of 26. So managers make assumptions in CVP analysis. These assumptions include costs are linear within the relevant range and costs can be classified as variable or fixed. Cool. Complete, back to assignments. All right, that one's done. Six. All right, we're going to be looking at the high-low method, regression, and comparing cost estimation methods. And we can come back to the assignment, homework assignment, and then exam. Hopefully we can get to that sooner than later. Might actually end up coming back to that. So the exam will come back to that. Keep on. I'll do some other reading too, because I need to do this faster. I really need to get this exam done. So I'm trying to read it out loud, just again, like I said, for like transparency and stuff like that. But kind of have a bunch of other stuff I need to do too. So I need to kind of multitask here. So just kind of get everything done timely. So got certain restrictions here. I gotta work with what I got here. Communications, personal social dispositions. So for the high-low method, the high-low method uses just 2 points to estimate the cost equation, the highest and lowest volume levels. The high-low method follows 3 steps. Step 1, identify the highest and lowest volume. These might not be the highest or lowest costs. Step 2, compute the slope or variable cost per unit using the high and low volume. Step 3, compute total fixed costs by computing total variable costs at either the high or low volume, and then subtracting that amount from the total cost at that volume. So step 1, identify the highest and lowest volume. These might not be the highest or lowest costs, so highest lowest volume. Step 2, compute the slope or variable cost per unit using high and low volume. Okay. And step 3, compute total fixed costs by computing total variable costs at either the high or low volume, and then subtracting that amount from the total cost at that volume. Okay, we'll see. See if we can find an example. Hey, very next thing. Ask and you shall receive, right? It's a coincidence. High-low method example. Step 1, in Exhibit 21.4, the lowest number of units produced is 17,500 and the highest is 67,500. The costs corresponding to these unit volumes are 18,500 and 31,000. Step 2, the variable cost per unit is calculated as the change in cost divided by change in units. So you got like x2 minus x1 over y2 minus y1, something like that. Using data from the highest and lowest unit volumes, this results in a slope or estimated variable cost per unit of $0.25 or 25 cents as computed in Exhibit 21.6. Exhibit 21.6, variable cost per unit using the high-low method. Formula. So variable cost per unit equals the cost at highest volume minus cost at lowest volume divided by the highest volume in units minus the lowest volume in units. Step 3, to estimate fixed cost for the high-low method, we know that total cost equals fixed cost plus variable cost per unit times the number of units. Then we pick either the highest or lowest volume to compute fixed costs. This is shown in Exhibit 21.7, where we use either the highest volume, which is 67,500 units, or the lowest volume, which is 17,500 units, in determining the fixed cost of $14,125. The cost equation from the high-low method is 14,125 plus 0.25 times units produced. Okay, that's the one I have up here. So fixed costs be 14,125 plus the, in parentheses here, variable cost per unit, 0.25 times the units produced. Exhibit 21.7, determining fixed costs using the high-low method. Using data at highest volume, total costs equal fixed costs plus, in parentheses, variable cost per unit times units. So this example would have $31,000 equals fixed costs plus $0.25 or 25 cents per unit times 67,500 units. $31,000 equals fixed costs plus $16,875. It's just combining those two numbers. And then $14,125 equal fixed costs. So you take in 16,000, do a little algebra here. Subtracting 16,875 from $31,000 to get $14,125. That equals fixed costs. Using data at lowest volume, total fixed costs equals fixed costs plus, in parentheses, variable cost per unit times units. Fixed costs would be $18,500. Sorry, $18,000 would equal fixed costs plus the $0.25 per unit times 17,500 units, which equals, so this per unit price plus unit times units equals 4,375. Take that and add it to fixed costs to equal the $18,500. Do a little algebra, subtract 4,375 from 18,500 to get 14,125 for the fixed costs. These two equal at the end. Cool. For regression, least squares regression, or simply regression. Wish McGraw-Hill, like, just have access to my camera or something. Like, stop trying to kick me out. Like, you can literally see me working or monitor keystrokes or something. Be more sophisticated. Like, it's this website like dumb as hell when it keeps on trying to kick you out right while you're in the middle of scrolling or reading or watching videos or something. Minor improvements, but really annoying if they just leave it like that. Ooh. Regression. All right, least squares regression, or simply regression, is a statistical method for identifying cost behavior. Excel has functions to determine the fixed cost, which equals the intercept, and variable cost, which equals the slope, components of a best fit line for the cost data. This is shown in Appendix 21.21a using Appendix 21a. Using regression, the cost equation for the data in Exhibit 24, and all dyslexic all of a sudden. Cost equation for the data in Exhibit 21.4 is 16,688 plus, in parentheses here, $0.2 or 20 cents times units produced. This means the fixed cost is estimated at 16,688 and the variable costs at 20 cents per unit. All right, and then I can see so it's like 2 sentences for this. Comparing cost estimation methods. Okay, I'll do this real quick. So 2 seconds. Say 10 seconds, watch. And start your timer. Here we go. Comparing cost estimation methods. Different cost estimation methods usually result in different estimates of fixed and variable costs. As summarized in Exhibit 21.8, regression uses more data and therefore should be more accurate than the high-low method. However, the high-low method is easier to apply and often useful for quick cost estimates. Exhibit 21.8, comparison of cost estimation methods. We have estimation method. For high-low, we'd have a fixed cost of 14,125 or 25 cents per unit for the variable cost. Estimation method for regression, using regression, we have a fixed cost of 16,688 and a variable cost of 20 cents per unit. Need to know videos, might as well just do that. So need to know for
using information. the high-low method to determine the cost equation, total fixed cost plus variable cost per unit. We begin by calculating the variable cost per unit. The formula for variable cost takes the cost at the high point, the highest number of units produced, minus the cost at the low point, the lowest number of units produced, and divides by the number of units at the high point minus the number of units at the low point. Period 4 is the high point in terms of units produced, and period 2 is the low point. $17,000 minus $9,800 divided by 4,000 units minus 1,600 units. The change in cost, $7,200, is a result of the change in volume, 2,400 units, equals a variable cost of $3 per unit produced. Now that we have the variable cost per unit, we calculate the total fixed costs at either the high point or the low point.
Slope is 3.
To calculate fixed costs at the high point, total cost equals fixed cost plus $3 per unit. We know that total costs at the high point are $17,000. Variable costs at the high point are $12,000, $3 per unit for each of the 4,000 units produced. Fixed costs at the high point are $5,000. Fixed costs remain constant at all levels of production, and we can prove this by using our cost formula at the low point. Total cost equals fixed cost plus $3 per unit. We know that total cost at the low point is $9,800. Variable cost at the low point, $3 per unit for each of the 1,600 units produced, equals $4,800. Fixed costs are $5,000. Total costs equal $5,000 plus $3 per unit. The cost equation is the formula for the line that connects the low point, 1,600 units and $9,800, with the high point, 4,000 units and $17,000. The slope of the line is the variable cost, $3 per unit. When we connect the 2 points and extend the line back to production volume 0, we see that total fixed costs are $5,000. The y-intercept represents the fixed costs.
Cool. Thanks for the info. Leave off there and pick back up on contribution margin and break-even analysis. Just want to check how much more as we go. Got one page. So many sections. So one page, how many sections? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. $14, $15, $16, $17, $18, $19, $20, $22, $23, $24, $25. So 4 pages, 25 sections. Oh my God. We can go through that today, right? We can do that. Okay. Here's the thing, I'm just going to try to do some reading on my own because I know reading out loud, it is slower, but it does help me break it down, slow it down even for myself. I kind of comprehend it a little bit more. But right now I'm just kind of pressed for time, so I'm going to have to read some of that on my own, but we'll sharing and stuff, but just going to have to do that way for now. Plus, I'm just explaining it now, so that way if I do it later, at least some people might know what's going on and you can fill everybody else in, because if I'm doing it that way, that's why, so. Not super important right now, but I'm just kind of switching up the structure for a minute, just kind of expedite the process here. Let's go to Let's go do some research. So for our additional research, we have the one drop rule. The one drop rule was a historical United States legal principle dictating that any person with even one ancestor of African Black ancestry, a single drop of Black blood was classified as Black. Rooted in slavery and segregation, it aimed to enforce racial purity, expand the enslaved population, and maintain strict social hierarchies. Origins and legal codification. God, people were dumb back in the day. People are still dumb, but we're getting smarter slowly and surely. And we're going to get to a point where we look back on people nowadays and be like, you guys are fucking idiots. It's going to happen, man. It's like one of the examples I like to bring up is like when people were like driving their own cars, like we got self-driving cars, and considering the technology now, it should be more ubiquitous. And we're going to get to a point where people aren't driving their own cars and people are like, damn, you used to drive your own cars, you freaking psychos. Like you guys used to go to war with each other and shoot bullets at each other. You fucking weirdos. You guys are idiots. Primitive and savage. Backwards people. But we'll evolve and we'll get better and we'll get smarter and we'll learn from the mistakes of the past. But right now we're still repeating a lot of the mistakes of the past, and we got politicians that are just stupid as fuck. Or malicious as hell, or ignorant as hell, just pushing certain narratives, like trying to justify whatever bullshit they're doing. So, not all of them like completely bad, but just very, very large. So, trying to learn everything about everything, so that way we can be well-rounded and make the best decisions, and kind of bring everybody along with us. And so, kind of point people in the right direction here. So, gotta keep learning, man. Be able to lead people. They got to be able to trust you to guide them. And if you want them to trust you to guide them, then you have to have experience, wisdom, knowledge, reason for them to trust you, along with the connection and rapport. Okay. This is not, dude. And people don't even like try to change. People don't like try to find the best solutions. They just accept things as good enough and scrape by, and it comes at other people's expense, especially when you're in a position of leadership like politicians, where you're like managing laws and regulations and things that political agendas that affect thousands, millions, and especially if you're president, you're not only affecting the people in your nation, hundreds of millions, but billions of people around the world. You're operating that scale, the impact of your decisions carries a lot more weight. Each individual decision you make has a lot more resonance and a lot more impact in wider society. And so you just have to be mindful and considerate of the full magnitude of the consequences of each of those decisions when they're being made. And you can't just be like, oh, this is a good thing, and then cover that with some fucking random justification for why it might work, or whatever bullshit story politicians come up with to kind of cover their asses. I'm gonna be very, very mindful when you're operating that scale. And politicians don't seem to be doing a very good job of being very mindful of their decisions. So that's my mission. That's the responsibility. Regardless of how I feel about you, I am here to help, not to ever hurt. As much as some people just deserve a nice little just right in the fucking nose. It's a little wake-up call. But nope, not even that. Just talk to them, because otherwise they're going to try to come back and hit you back even harder. Just create more problems down the road that you have to deal with, and it's going to stop me from being able to be more as productive as I want to be in other places. It's going to be like, oh fuck, I have to deal with this shit again. This little dumb little jit. All right. So yeah, now we're the tide raising all the ships together. We're going together. Behind, right? Everyone is accepted and welcome into the kingdom of heaven. Guided and enlightened, and sometimes you gotta grab them by the shoulders, turn them around, be like, "Hey, that way." All of us people, man. Even if we have to go way down deep into the depths of hell, we're gonna get everybody. We're bringing everybody up there. Where you are, where you're hiding. God wants you. We want you. Codification of one drop rule. One drop rule, racist is fuck. Origins in legal codification. Codification. The concept has its roots in early colonial law. Colonizer. Early colonial law, specifically Virginia's 1662 law Partis Sequitur Ventrem, which decreed that children inherited the legal and enslaved status of their mothers. As centuries passed and intermixing occurred, the definition shifted from parentage or appearance to pure ancestry. By the early 20th century, the rule was formally codified into law in several states, such as Virginia's Racial Integrity Act. It's even the name of it was like, try to maintain their integrity of racism. Okay, sorry. All right, 1924, under the anthropological term hypodescent, the automatic assignment of mixed race children to the group with the lower socioeconomic or hypodescent, the automatic assignment of mixed race children to the group with a lower socioeconomic or ethnic status. Social impact and legacy. The rule completely barred individuals of mixed heritage from white privilege, preventing light-skinned Black individuals from passing as white and ultimately dictating who is subject to Jim Crow segregation laws. It's rich and powerful, greedy, desperate motherfuckers trying to cling onto their power and subjugate others so that way they can't pose a threat or risk to that individual's power. That individual is a fucking dick and should not be in power. Rise, my people. Rise against tyranny and oppression. We've made progress since then. So, while the rule itself was a construct to enforce inequality, obviously, it inadvertently helped to unify the boundaries of the African American community, as anyone affected by it identified or was socially grouped together. Although anti-miscegenation laws were ruled unconstitutional in 1967, god damn, that is recent. Surprised it took you so fucking long. Supreme Court case Loving versus Virginia. The social conditioning of the one-drop rule persisted in shaping American racial identity for decades. But yeah, you have Black people now, they're like, have a drop of African American in them and they identify as Black because that's like the minority and they're protected. So, yeah, kind of went the other way now. Some people tend to work though. They go from one way extreme all the way to the other way extreme, overcorrecting and overcorrecting and overcorrecting and overcorrecting and overcorrecting and overcorrecting and overcorrecting. Getting closer. It's like a rubber band. You go like It goes like that way, then way this way, then way that way, way that way, way that way, way that way, whoa. There we go. And then we move on to the next thing. Probably explaining that horribly, but that's how society works, man. That's how it seemed to work all throughout the history of time. It's overshooting it way past the mark. So much, but we try to finally, eventually, over time, due diligence and actual communication and open communication and more connection, community, and we can recognize their similarities rather than differences. And make some real progress. But until then, you guys keep on correcting shit. Slow progress, but progress. Progress nonetheless. It's nice to recognize, but also nice to recognize that we're not quite there yet. Reach. Take it down. Probably do that assignment real quick. It shouldn't take too long. Let's go to. Let's do APA's DIMPAC report. I'll go to interpersonal communications textbook readings. Then we'll do mechanics of indoctrination, additional research topic, and then move to Lands of the Bible. Read through those, and go to the assignment for interpersonal communications. Okay, so let's see if we can do that. All right, so APA's DIMPAC report. The APA's DIMPAC report from 1986 was created by the Task Force on Deceptive and Indirect Methods of Persuasion and Control. In other words, DIMPAC, to investigate mind control and brainwashing by cults. It concluded that cults use deceptive techniques to strip individuals of their free will. However, the APA's Board of Social and Ethical Responsibility for Psychology, or BSERP, formally rejected the DIMPAC report in May 1987. The board cited lack of scientific rigor and concluded that the task force's brainwashing theories were not supported by sufficient objective empirical evidence. Yeah, it's probably just thrown together real quickly didn't have like super longitudinal studies and stuff. So yeah, you need very sufficient evidence. Like extraordinary plans require extraordinary evidence. So you got to support that shit. With plenty of arguments and evidence, so need proof. This rejection undermined the psychological and legal arguments for mind control as a scientifically recognized phenomenon. You can read the historical background of the full DIMPAC report text on the Censure Religious Movements archive. So, I mean, to an extent, yes, like people were a product of their environment to an extent, got the genetic environmental correlation. So yes, like they're influenced by their genes, but also their genes give them sort of guidelines they can fit within these parameters, and you have like a certain amount of options, and then society gives you a certain amount of options, which either opens it up or like opens up some options or closes. I think kind of more like, so you have your genes, which allow you to do all these things, and then society kind of confines you even further to be able to operate here, and then kind of points you in a certain direction based on that. So it's kind of mind control, but it's just it's heavily, very, very influential. And that could either lead people astray or put them on a better path, depending on what's going on. So a lot of factors to consider, but to an extent, I wouldn't call it brainwashing, but it would be I don't know. In negative respects would be manipulation. In positive ways, you could say influence, but either of those. Not necessarily brainwashing or mind control, no. Just heavy influence or heavy manipulation. Mechanics of indoctrination, we'll come back to that. Our personal social dispositions, and then we're going to do loneliness and social connection and solitude scale, or SCSS. Personal and social dispositions. Social personal dispositions refer to general patterns of mental processes that impact how people socially relate to others or view themselves. The following dispositions impact how people interact with others, but they do so from very different places. Without delving too deeply, we'll examine the 7 personal social dispositions identified by John Daly. First, we have loneliness. The first social personal disposition is loneliness, or an individual's emotional distress that results from a feeling of solitude or isolation from social relationships. Loneliness can be categorized into 2 forms, emotional and social. Emotional loneliness results when an individual feels that he or she does not have an emotional connection with others. I can get where those people are coming from, but it can be improved. So we get these emotional connections through our associations with loved ones and close friends. Gotta earn that though. Through going out and taking this practice. So practice makes perfect. You get better at connecting to people when you get closer and closer to them as you get better at interacting with them. So just like everything else, practice makes perfect. If an individual is estranged from their family or doesn't have close relationships or close friendships, they may feel lonely because of a lack of these emotional connections. Been there, done that, no fun, but like I said, practice makes perfect, and there's hope for everybody. So I don't care who you are, how lonely you feel, or how fucked up you feel. Keep good. Just get out there, practice, keep on improving. Humans have an amazing ability to adapt. It's what kept us alive for so damn long throughout evolutionary history. So it's our ability to adapt to different situations is one of our highlight traits as humans. So I would take advantage of it. Learn, practice, adapt, grow. Social loneliness results from a lack of satisfying social networks. Okay, so emotional loneliness is one, and then so this one, social loneliness, results from a lack of satisfying social networks, or a lack of a satisfying social network. Imagine you're someone who was historically very social. Still, you move to a new city and find building new social relationships very difficult because the people in the new location are very cliquish. The inability to develop a new social network can lead someone to feelings of loneliness because they may feel a sense of social boredom or marginalization. Loneliness tends to impact people in several ways, both interpersonally and intrapersonally. Some of the general research findings associated with loneliness have showed that these people have lower self-esteem and are more socially passive, are more sensitive to rejection from others, and are often less socially skilled. Interestingly, lonely individuals attribute their interpersonal failures to an internal locus of control and their interpersonal successes to an external locus of control. Okay. Take a few moments and complete the social connection and solitude scale, or SCSS, located in figure 3.9. Before proceeding, it is essential to note that the SCSS is not a diagnostic tool and was developed for this book based on a range of measures designed to assess aspects of loneliness, social isolation, and solitude. This will give you a general idea of your perceptions of loneliness, social isolation, and solitude, but is not intended to diagnose these phenomena as much as it gets you thinking about the concepts involved. All right. So the Social Connection and Solitude Scale, or SCSS. Instructions. This instrument is composed of 36 statements concerning feelings about social connection, communication, and solitude. Please indicate the degree to which each statement applies to you by marking whether you think it's 1, never true, 2, rarely true, 3, sometimes true, 4, often true, or 5, almost always true. Work quickly, record your first impression. Okay, so from 1 to 5, let's do. Let's write the numbers real quick. So we got 36. Doing this out of curiosity. Can use it for myself and or others, or both. Like that taco commercial. Why not both? Shell and round shell. All right, 1, I sense a meaningful bond exists between me and others in my life. 2, the depth of my relationship satisfies my need for connection. 2, I experience warmth in my interactions with others. 3, my emotional needs for closeness are being met. 2, not never, but sometimes. Well, just bringing someone over is not really a closeness. Like it's not interpersonal. Like I don't even know their names half the time. Yeah, it's not close at all. Like okay. Well, I mean, there's other relationships, I guess. All right. I feel understood by the people around me. 2. I feel like people really bother. There's a mutual care between, which is why I'm trying to take initiative to do it myself. So I can't rely on others. Got that internal locus of control. Can't rely on others to make you feel good. Got to reach out to them because then if you just sit there, you can't count on them reaching out to you. Like everybody's doing their own thing. 6, there's a mutual care between me and the others that I value. 2, I'm included in social activities that matter to me. 1, my presence is welcomed in group settings. 3, I participate in shared experiences with others. 4, I'm part of communities that align with my interests. Like NASA, or like subscribe to certain channels. Oh, like in person. Like the only in-person community I'm kind of like starting to get into is like because my mom and church, but it's not because I believe in this stuff. It's just because I'm trying to understand why others believe in it. So to be able to connect with them more and just understand where they're coming from, what they believe and why. And so just being able to kind of understand them so I have things to talk about with them and understand where they might be coming from or the reasons behind their actions, thoughts, words, and so on. So I'm just trying to more just using it to get closer to people, but no, I don't really believe in religion or church stuff. I realize that it helps some people, and so figure try to extrapolate the good from it and take what I can from it, and then use that like somewhere else. But say 2, I guess. I get emails from NASA sometimes. You can count that as being part of a community. Others actively invite me to join their activities. One, always the one has to do invites and shit. It's all up to me, man. I contribute to groups in ways that make that feel meaningful. I know my work here is meaningful, but the conglomerate and the coalescence, like that feels meaningful, but I don't really, it's not really part of the group. Like I don't really have a lot of supporters right now. So and then other groups, yeah, no. My typical day includes meaningful exchanges with others. 2, usually kind of busy working, so. I mean, when I go out, like say on like certain days, like yeah, if I go out, like was it Saturday, Sundays, usually like either like just going out, see what's going on around town, or like going to the church groups. I like do my best to kind of talk to people and stuff, but meaningful exchanges, I don't know, it's more like surface level stuff. I wouldn't really feel like super meaningful. It's not like deep talks about anything significant or super relevant. It's just basic bullshit. So not really. I engage in conversations that go beyond surface level. I would like to, but no viewers here. Nobody's really interested in talking about anything super sophisticated or anything out there. Like, one, people don't really seem to grasp the concepts that I'm trying to talk about, or 2, they're just not really, they're tired from work and are thinking about other stuff and they just want to drink and drown out their thoughts or whatever. And don't really seem to be talking about too much important things. So let's say, was it 14? 1. Well, 2. I got like 2 people I can think of that I've like, I think had legit like deep conversations with. It's not like a regular basis, but I have at some point in my life been engaged in deep conversations with people like Teal, Lindsay, Mark. There's certain people that are willing to, talk about things that are important and actually useful rather than just like random shit. Digital and in-person interactions keep me connected throughout the week. Digital, trying to be connected, but no viewers, so it's kind of weird. But again, there's other reasons why I do this. It's not just for that. That'll come. I know that. Like I said, chasing the championship ring, people will naturally merge to what they see as successful. So I'm just doing my thing. I know how much potential I have in the things that I'm doing and what it's really worth. So I mean, I'm the only one that sees it and I see the value behind it. But once other people start to catch on, then I have no problem. I know that there's going to be some people converging and everything. People start sharing stuff and start liking it and gets more popular, more views and stuff like that. That'll happen naturally. It's like once people start to realize, like, yeah, this guy's worth listening to, and he's doing the right thing. So like, I want to be more like that guy and stuff like that. So people will catch on. I'm not too worried about that. So I'm just doing the right things over here. Keep me connected throughout the week. It's 2. All right, let's get through the rest of this so I can get to a different subject. Regular opportunities to share my thoughts and feelings. 2. Maintain ongoing dialogues with people who matter to me. They respond. 2. Thing, so it's got to really try to like, hey, like, dude, like, come on, get your shit together, let's go. We got a fucking mission. I maintain ongoing dialogues with people who matter to me. So team. Practical help is available to me when challenges arise. 2. I can reach out successfully when I need emotional support. 2. My support network responds when I'm struggling. Very rare. I feel like 2's lenient. 2's, even the 2's being kind of, resources for assistance are within my reach. I guess 3. I know where to turn during difficult times. 2. Help arise in forms that actually meet my needs. 1. Time alone allows me to recharge effectively. 5. Solitary moments contribute to my personal growth. 4, depends. Like a lot of times I would rather be out with people, but people seem busy or occupied doing whatever frivolous crap. So 27, I use quiet time for meaningful self-reflection. 4. Being alone helps me process my experiences. 3. I find creative inspiration in solitude. 4. My alone time enhances my overall well-being. 4. Lack of connection in my life causes me pain. Okay, yeah, fuck it. We're being honest, 5. First impressions, I'm following the rules. What are we on? 32. My limited social contact creates persistent sadness. 5. I struggle with the emptiness of minimal human interaction. 5. The absence. Hey, I'm getting high scores now. Sweet. Woo-hoo. Nice. 34. The absence of meaningful relationships weighs heavily on me. 5. My disconnection from others disrupts my daily functioning. Say 4. Gap between my desired and actual social life troubles me. Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff we need to do, man. There's so many things that I need help from people to do, and in order to make the world a better place, bring people together and just do everything that I'm supposed to do and point this world in the right direction, making it go where it needs to go. Correcting the trajectory of civilization, doing what's actually genuinely best for everybody. This affects so many different aspects. I'm like, got all these businesses and everything like that. I just need shit. You have to get promoted. Need people to vocalize that. Need people to project it, to serve as like amplifiers for what I'm trying to do here. Spread the word, man. Spread the word. You got the mission of all missions here. And it's going to take a village, man. It's going to take a whole entire community. It's going to take the whole entire world coming together to really make sure this happens. Doing the right things, I'm making progress, and I'll bring you all with me. So I'm doing my part. I just need your help doing yours. So gotta help me out here. All right, to compute subscale scores, sum the items from each of the subscale indicated below. Emotional connection, sum items from 1 through 6. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13, 7 through 12, 1, 10, 12, 13 through 18. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 122, 123, 124, 125, 126, 127, 128, 1 6, 8, 10, 12, 25 through 30, 5, 9, 13, 16, 20, 24, 31, 36, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 29. All right. Yeah, I made some improvements towards the end of that test. I got higher points. I'm just kidding. I know it's. We'll see. All right. So the emotional connection score is 13. Social integration score is 12. Communication engagement score is 12. Support accessibility score 12. Solitude appreciation score 24. Isolation distress score 29. To obtain your total social connection score, so to obtain your social connection score, add the scores for emotional connection, social integration, communication, engagement, and support accessibility. It's got 36 plus 46, 49. To obtain your communication isolation score, subtract your communication engagement score from 30. So 15. To obtain your solitude balance score, subtract your isolation distress score from your solitude appreciation score. Okay, norms for the SCSS. Total social connection score. Scores range from 24 to 20. High connection is 96 through 120. Moderate connection 72 through 95. Low connection is 48 through 71. Communication isolation score. Scores range from 0 to 24. Minimal isolation 0 to 6. Mild isolation 7 through 12. And moderate isolation 13 through 18. Ooh, just met the mark there. 18. Moderate isolation. Two, that needs improvement. Right on the cusp, and then severe isolation is 19 through 24. For solitude balance, my score was -4 or -4. Yeah, the negative, I'm assuming that's not a good thing. Solitude balance scores range from -30 to +30. This is not like the worst. Positive balance or healthy solitude is +10 to +30. Neutral balance is -9 to +9. Okay, so I got neutral. Trying to connect with people better. So negative balance or distressing isolation would be -30 to -10. All right. And subscale definitions for the SCSS. Now that you completed the SCSS, let's look at the various subscales measured in the SCSS. All right, we'll pick back up there on emotional connection. Well, the reason that I do the things that I do, like say for example, popping this up. I know there's no viewers, but at least I don't know, it makes me feel like some sort of semblance of connection with the world. Like nobody watches or anything, like, but that's fine. I don't know, it kind of gives me my own little. I got Dell here. I got Dell here watching me. I can talk to Dell, even if nobody's watching me. I'm talking to my buddy Dell here. It's like my version of Wilson, from Tom Hanks's Castaway. If I lose Dell, dude, I'll be like, no, Dell, Dell, no, not Dell. um, fucking sad. Yeah, no, I mean, it just makes me feel like I'm not losing my shit completely. Makes me feel like at least I'm talking to somebody. So, but yeah, I mean, I talk to other people. I'm not like totally like a caveman in here. I talk to other people outside. I say things, but it's not like deep connections. Yeah, no, not at all. It's more just like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? What are you guys doing out? Like, how's your night going? Blah blah blah, and then just go your separate ways like 5 seconds later. So. I don't know. It's a start. It's better than just like not saying anything to anybody. So progress. I'm at least able to sort of engage. Be like, hey, how's it going? And then bye. All right. So we got some stuff to work on here. So that's cool. On the bright side, we know we got to fix. So we're good. This is a plan. This is moving forward. This is progress. This is good. This is good stuff. Two or three of those yesterday. One bag a day tops. That's it. This bag cut off. Maybe one before sleep. No, that's a bad idea. No, one a day. One a day, that's it. 2 grams of fat, that's not too bad. 18 grams of carbs. It's not horrible. There's not really anything to it. Mm. All right, so we got to improve social connection. We have to reduce communication isolation, so we got to be less isolated. Still remember, what was that coach's name? He almost reminded me of like Troy Polamalu. Like big long like wavy hair. Like he always uses like conditioner, like a whole entire bottle of conditioner every single time he showered. He's all like, you got locks on locks on locks. Shit. My pants. Um, but yeah, he always walked up to me like at least I remember specifically 2 different times at least. Might have been more than that because I was like, I remember getting annoyed because he kept on asking me, and like I would like all my teammates will be over here, then I'll just drink my water and I go like all the way over here, and he'd be like, why are you isolating yourself? I'm like, I don't even know what that word means. And I eventually learned what that meant. It's like you're all by yourself. And I remember he explained it to me. He's like, you're all by yourself, or you just hanging out over here. I don't know. I don't have anything in common with these other dudes. I need to find more things in common. That's the thing. Like I realized the problem. It's just as a kid, didn't realize that like, hey, like this is the problem that I need to fix because as a kid, you don't really realize that like this is gonna affect you so much throughout the rest of your life. When you're not connected to others and you're so isolated from the world, there's damn, it is a huge barrier to entry when it comes to business success, just dating, and just being genuinely happy and satisfied with life. Solitude balance wasn't too bad, neutral balance. So still room for improvement. Always room for improvement. Good isn't good enough. Great isn't great enough. Only perfection is satisfactory. All right, cool. Fuck yeah, dude. Hells yeah. Chuck yeah. Saw a new Chuck Norris commercial where they're using like his AI like appearance. I thought it was actually pretty cool. Wonder what the rules and regulations are there. Like, I'm sure there should be contracts you can sign where, like, yeah, you can use this AI, but like Chuck Norris is known for being badass, kicking ass, and stuff like that. Being able to stand up against bad guys and roundhouse kick them square in the face, or nuts, or whatever. Yeah, so you got him doing stuff like that. Like, say for this chicken commercial I just saw, what was it? What was it? What was the chicken commercial? What was it for? I can't remember where. I thought it was pretty cool. Like carrying on his legacy and then donating some of the funds or the proceeds over to like a children's charity or something like that. Like that was pretty cool. Like that's a good usage of the AI. But like, yeah, if you're like trying to use the AI to make them like perform sexual acts and stuff like that after they're deceased or stuff like without their permission, that's a whole lot more just inappropriate. A lot. I have other words for that, but I'm just going to stick with inappropriate. It's not good. Not a good idea. Disrespectful. Compromise their dignity. It's not good. Especially after they're deceased. It's just total lack of respect. So if you're going to use it, show respect and say, yeah, I don't think there's like contracts written out. Like, I'm sure there's verbiage in certain contracts where they can give them permission to use it for these kinds of things, explicitly not for these kinds of things, and then maybe some debate with the family or other progeny and people related have a say in other things, but oh shit. Maybe if that person is deceased and doesn't have a say, or if they're incapacitated and somehow doesn't have a say, then only strictly adhere to definitely not these things and definitely these things are okay, and everything else in between would be like kind of part of this over here. Yeah. I'll say maybe the family, like any descendants and stuff like that, any relatives could have a say for these things in the gray area to determine themselves. But there should be like a standard where they're like definitely not, definitely can, and then other things in between, like the family can decide on that and they kind of delineate that per contract. So there's ways of doing that. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool seeing Chuck Norris's AI in a video. Chuck, yeah. All right. Stay lands of the Bible. So just going to continue, finish up the Egypt timeline. Then I'm going to jump over to, was it Mesopotamia? Then we can cover the Persian Empire. Actually, Assyria. Okay, so we'll do finish Egypt. We'll go to Mesopotamia. And then Assyria. And then we also have Babylonia. Let's go ahead and throw that in there too. So you can get, just be consistent, get all the pages. Yeah. '30th dynasty, 31st dynasty only lasted a short time until 332, and Alexander the Great came in and put an end to pharaonic rule or pharaonic civilization. So picking up from when Alexander the Great came in, what did he invade or what happened? So did he just come in? I thought he was more like I mean, he waged war and stuff and like battled, but I think he was from what I know, like he was kind of open to negotiation and stuff like that. He's a little bit more fair than some people who just wanted to invade and take resources and stuff like that. So he was willing to work with people, I think. Well, let's find out. Let's see. Let's read more. I don't know too much about it. From Alexander the Great to 30 BC, in 333 to 323 BCE, the kingdom of Alexander the Great in Egypt. This was the kingdom of Alexander the Great in Egypt. With the death of Alexander the Great in Egypt, a new Hellenistic dynasty begins, that of the Lagids, with a capital at Alexandria, named after King Alexander. It is composed of 9 kings. In 305 BCE, Ptolemy I, Soter, noble Macedonian, rules Egypt for almost 20 years. In 285 BCE, Ptolemy II, Philadelphus, son of Soter, literature and the arts flourish. He rules Egypt for almost 35 years. In 246 BCE, Ptolemy III, Euergetes, son of Philadelphus, he undertakes an expedition in Syria, but internal troubles in Egypt oblige him to abandon his effort. In 221 BCE, Ptolemy IV, Philopator, son of Euergetes, he resumes the war in Syria and defeats the adversary king at Raphia in 217. 203 BCE, Ptolemy V, Epiphanes, son of Philopator, he becomes his father's successor at the age of 5. Ptolemy VI, Philometor, son of Epiphanes, since he is very young, he governs under the tutelage of his mother. In 145 BCE, Ptolemy VII, Physcon, brother of the preceding, also called Euergetes II, succeeds his brother who has been taken prisoner by Antiochus IV. In 16 BCE, Ptolemy VIII, or Soter II, Lathyrus, has a most difficult life. Why? In 108 BCE, Ptolemy IX, or Alexander I, Auletes, is the illegitimate son of the preceding. 51 BCE, at the death of Auletes, Cleopatra VII ascends to the throne. Protected by Julius Caesar and later by Antony, she kills herself after Antony's defeat at Actium. Egypt becomes a Roman province. So that is Egypt. Go to Mesopotamia. All right, lands of the Bible, Mesopotamia. From 3200 to 1800 BCE, the Sumerian Empire was made up of the first people of the ancient Middle East. They had a very high culture and remained in power for more than 1,000 years. Cool. In 3200 BCE, Jemdet Nasser period, at the time of Uruk IV, an era of the expansion and irradiation of the Sumerian culture. In 2900 BCE, the Mesolene period, dominated by the Lagash dynasties, the first, second, and third Lagash dynasties. In 2650 BCE, the first Ur dynasty period, an era of struggle for power between the cities of Lagash and Ur. Mughal tries to establish a Sumerian kingdom united to the Uruk capital, but his efforts fail. In 2350 BCE, this is the Akkadian period, an age of great expansion. Sargon I unites all Mesopotamia under one kingdom. The Akkadians and Sumerians become one people. In 2200 BCE, the Gutian period, transformation of the entire Sumerian culture. The king begins to have himself called God. Oh God. That's where he fucked up. You fuck up big time doing that shit. Sumerian customs, languages, and strategies are repressed. In 2000 BCE, this is the third Ur dynasty period. New political and cultural predominance on the part of the Sumerians. The efforts of King Ur-Nammu make this the most prosperous kingdom of Sumer. Sumerians and Akkadians become reconciled. In 1800 BCE, the Sumerian Empire disappears with the foundation of the first Babylonian kingdom. All right, so let me go to Mesopotamia. Skip to Mesopotamia and Egypt. Hold on. Okay, actually, so let's go to Babylonia. Looks like it's kind of more chronological order reading it this way. 1830, 1750. Let me go back and forth. I'm going to go back and forth between Assyria and Babylonia because they seem like they're kind of coinciding here. And I'll try to make sure I stay in chronological order here. So starting with Assyria, actually, we're going to go Assyria from 1830 to 33 BCE. And then Babylonia is 1830 to 330 BCE. Okay. Assyria. In 1830, Assyria is ruled by a strong indigenous dynasty, or Sargon I. In 1830 in Babylonia, this is the start of the first dynasty, the Babylonian Amorite, with capital at Babel. In 1750 BCE, Assyria comes under an Amorite dynasty, or Shamshi Adad I, and then forms part of the empire of Hammurabi. In 1750 BCE, Babylonia reaches the apogee of its greatness with King Hammurabi. His domination extends over all of Mesopotamia and part of Assyria and Elam. In 1700 BCE, nothing for Assyria, but for Babylonia, the second Babylonian dynasty, called that of the land of the sea, that is near the foci of the Tigris and Euphrates. In 1500 BCE, rise of the Hurrite kingdom of Mitanni, which subjugates even Assyria. In 1500 BCE, we have the third Babylonian dynasty made up of the Kassites, stemming from the Iranian highland. 1400 BCE, the kingdom of Mitanni becomes a vassal of the Hittites. And then 66 BCE, Shalmaneser I proclaims himself king of Assyria. In 1112 BCE, Tiglath-Pileser I founds the Assyrian power and extends its dominion from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean. And also in 1112 BCE, new Babylonian dynasty, Nebuchadnezzar I delivers Babylonia from the Elamite invasion. In 900 Babylonia, we have a decline in the political power of Babylonia, which falls under the hegemony of Assyria while retaining autonomous dynasties. In 883 BCE, Ashurnasirpal II extends the empire into northern Mesopotamia. In 858 BCE, Shalmaneser III attacks the Arameans of Damascus, the small states of Phoenicia and Israel. In 745 BCE, in Assyria, Tiglath Tiglath-Pileser III intervenes in the war of Damascus and Israel against Judah and reduces them to vassal states. In 745 in Babylonia, BCE, the king of Assyria also assumed the title of king of Babylonia. In 726 in Assyria, Shalmaneser V besieges Samaria. In 721 BCE, Sargon II destroys the kingdom of Israel and deports its inhabitants. In 704 BCE, Sennacherib lays siege to Jerusalem and devastates Babylonia. In 680 BCE, Esarhaddon lifts Assyria's power to its height. In 668 BCE, Ashurbanipal rules over the most splendid period of Assyrian art and culture. In 625 to 612 BCE, we have the decline of the Assyrian kingdom and fall of Nineveh. In 605 BCE, in Babylonia, we have Nabopolassar captures Nineveh and initiates the Neo-Babylonian Empire or Chaldean Empire. In 538, Nebuchadnezzar II subjugates and then destroys the kingdom of Judah in 598 to 587. This is the end of the Chaldean Empire under Nabonidus and Balthazar. So now moving forward further. In Syria or Mesopotamia, let's go to the Persian Empire. So the Persian Empire, we have Cyrus the Great, who ruled from 559 to 529. Trying to stay in chronological order here. 529 was Cambyses. 521, Darius the First, or Hystaspes. 485 BCE was Xerxes the First, or Ahasuerus in the Book of Esther. 464 BCE was Artaxerxes the First. 424 was Xerxes the Second. 424 BCE, Darius the Second. And 404 BCE, Artaxerxes the Second. 385, we had Artaxerxes the Third. 337 was Arses. In 335 to 330, we had Darius the Third Kadoman. And 333, this was when the empire of Alexander the Great took over. So now flash forward to Syria and Mesopotamia from Alexander the Great to 30 BCE. 332 to 323 BCE, the kingdom of Alexander the Great is in all of Asia. At the death of Alexander the Great in Syria, the Hellenistic dynasty of the Seleucids is begun with capital at Antioch. In 312 BCE, we have Seleucus the First, Nicator, founds the Seleucid dynasty. He dies by assassination. In 280, Antiochus the First Soter, son of the preceding, he leaves his power to his son. In 261 BCE, Antiochus II Theos, before dying, names his firstborn as his heir. In 246, Seleucus II Callinicus undergoes the Third Syrian War. In 226 BCE, Seleucus III Ceraunus, son of Callinicus or Callinicus, I don't know, accomplishes nothing of note. Son of Callinicus accomplishes nothing of note. So they really wanted to make sure that guy didn't do shit. Kind of like Joe Biden. Like he's going down in history as the one that didn't do jack shit. We had a zombie as president one time. You remember that time we elected a zombie? He didn't do shit. Yeah, I lived through that. That was annoying. All right, 223 BCE, Antiochus III, Antiochus the Great, brother of Seranus, defeated by the Romans, leaves his kingdom in great poverty. Wah, 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 failed leader. All right. Did I read this? Okay, we got the Ptolemy part. Okay, and so Mesopotamia in 187 BCE, Seleucus the Fourth, Philopator, son of the preceding, has an insignificant reign. Wow, people didn't like him either. In 175 BCE, Antiochus the Fourth, Epiphanes, brother of Philopator, hostile to the Hebrews, he initiates the first religious persecution. He dies during a military expedition in Persia in 164 BC. In 164 BC, Antiochus V, Eupator, succeeds his father at the age of 12 and rules for 2 years as a mere instrument of Lysias. Like a little puppet. Yeah, not a good idea to have a kid ruling. So he's going to be taken advantage of and have other people. It's not going to be him ruling. It's going to be other people manipulating. 161, Demetrius the First Soter, son of Seleucus the Fourth, dies fighting Alexander Balas. In 150, Alexander Balas, usurper, succeeds Demetrius the First. Obliged to flee, he is killed. In 145 BCE, Demetrius the Second, Nicator, son of Demetrius the First, is taken prisoner by the Parthians. In 145 BCE, Antiochus the Sixth, son of Alexander Balas, usurps the kingdom while Demetrius is in prison. In 138, see, this would be some good Game of Thrones shit right here. Like this area right here. Like, you killed my father, prepare to die. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father, prepare to die. I will usurp the throne. Okay. Prison in 138 BCE, Antiochus the Seventh, Sidetes, brother of Demetrius the Second, conquers Gazara, Joppa, Acre. He despoils Jerusalem and is killed by the Parthians. In 129 BCE, Demetrius II returns to power after his imprisonment. In 125, Antiochus VIII Gryphus, brother of Demetrius II, is killed by Heraclon. In 113 BCE, Antiochus IX Cyzicenus, Antiochus IX Cyzicenus. The list of Seleucids goes on. It constitutes one continuous struggle on the part of pretenders to the throne who are never. It constitutes one continuous struggle on the part of pretenders to the throne who are ever ready to extend themselves in neighboring lands, but inept to defend their own territory from foreign kings and petty local rulers. They fight only for their own personal and family honor, not for the good of their country. Coup leaders. All right, this struggle goes on until the year 65 BC. So, years. When Pompey eliminates the last Seleucid, Antiochus the 13th, and declares Syria a Roman province. All right, going to pick back up on the Hebrew people. Get back. Syria. Pick up on there. Sorry if that's like a little bit harder to watch or something, but just want to be able to share that, learn it. Oh, I can record it too. What are we missing? Okay, so we'll do this additional research topic. We'll do this assignment. Research topic, assignment, and then conglomerate and coalescence notes. Okay. Whew. 1 second. Be right back. Yeah, I also don't want to just talk the talk. I want to walk the walk. So, like I said, when I'm getting text, geez, man, I could have just been one text. And it need to be 5 fucking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fucking messages. It's working. Yeah, we did the thing. Yay, we're being more responsive. All right, here we go. Back to work. Powerful little magnet there. Of indoctrination and manipulation tactics. Indoctrination and psychological manipulation involve systematically dismantling an individual's critical thinking and identity, replacing them with a predetermined set of beliefs. High control groups, cults, and extremist organizations achieve this through a sequence of psychological, behavioral, and environmental control tactics. 1. The stages of indoctrination. Brainwashing and indoctrination generally follow a 4-step psychological progression: softening up, compliance, internalization, and consolidation. For softening up, the manipulator identifies a target's vulnerabilities, such as stress, isolation, or life transition, and offers a sense of intense validation and belonging. This initial friendliness is often called love bombing. Compliance. The individual complies with minor requests, such as adopting a new vocabulary, attending meetings, or altering their daily routines. These early changes pave the way for more significant ideological shifts. Internalization. The target begins to adopt the group's worldview as their own. Through repeated messaging, the manipulator convinces the individual that the ideology is objective truth. Consolidation, the new identity is cemented. The individual internalizes a new social identity and begins defending the system, often acting as a recruiter themselves. 2. Core manipulation tactics. Manipulators employ various methods to bypass critical thinking and enforce obedience. We have 5 of these: isolation, emotional manipulation, repetition, gaslighting and deception, and public shaming and reward. For isolation, cutting the target off from family, friends, and alternative sources of information. This ensures the manipulator becomes the sole source of validation and truth. Emotional manipulation, exploiting emotions like fear, guilt, and the desire for approval to influence attitudes. Phobia indoctrination is inducing fear of the outside world or dread of what will happen if the individual leaves. This is frequently used to prevent rebellion. It's like the show Silo I'm watching. Repetition, or a lot of gangs. Repetition, constant exposure to certain messages, slogans, or specialized language serves to suppress independent thought. Repetition creates the illusion that these beliefs are self-evident. True. Have no more open mind. Think for yourself, man. Don't be a sheep. Gaslighting and deception, tricking recruits into joining and obscuring the true intentions of the group. Manipulators may use gaslighting to make targets doubt their own sanity or memory of reality. Public shaming and reward. Embarrassment is used to force compliance, while cooperation is met with validation. Punishments for dissent can range from subtle social ostracism to harsh physical or psychological penalties. 3, protecting yourself. Understanding the psychological phenomena is the best defense against indoctrination and manipulative practices, being aware of it. So being aware of what could happen, what people might come at you with, and so that when people do come at you with it, you're well aware of like, hey, I can see what you're doing. Fuck you. Yeah, you gotta have defenses against it. Knowledge, experience, wisdom. Don't be stupid. Because if you're stupid, you're easily manipulatable. Experts recommend thinking critically, question narratives, and verify facts. I'd recommend doing the same thing with the news. When you're watching news, a lot of the news outlets, right wing, left wing, whatever they might claim to be, as well as politicians, they really got to watch out for the narratives they're trying to push and the tactics they use to push those narratives, because it's just like marketing, man, like commercials. They use psychological tactics to try to like get in your head and try to like manipulate you into believing like they're on your side or you want what they have or whatever it is. So you just got to be able to understand these psychological techniques and these manipulation tactics. Be aware of it. Maintaining independence, stay connected with external relationships, and maintain a personal identity outside of any single group or ideology. Recognizing red flags, be aware of high emotions, intense social pressure, high emotions, Hitler, super enthusiastic and like, blah. High fervor, nationalism, intense social pressure, peer pressure. You got to do it. Everybody else is doing it. We all believe it. Why don't you? You're stupid. I was like, there's a quick thing, just a quick little thought. Like, yeah, just because like you think other people are dumb and that they're wrong and you're right, it doesn't mean like you shouldn't explain to them. Like you should like still try to reach out to them, explain to them, like try to connect with them in a diplomatic and kind of, I want to say assertive because people are going to take that overboard and take assertiveness and more do aggressiveness and be more aggressive than just like assertive. I mean, like just taking initiative to do something about it. But when you do something about it, be very clear that you're going the right way about it. You're not in any way trying to harm the person, but building trust, building rapport, building a connection, and showing that you're trying to help them and stuff like that, making yourself seem trustworthy. And if for whatever reason they don't buy it, then that's not on completely on them. That's on you to gather more evidence, gather more facts, where it's literally undeniable. Keep on going the other direction with that repetition, and like it's not just the same thing over and over again, but different ways of looking at it, different information, and everything like that. What do we got? Red flags, beware of high emotions, intense social pressure, and restrictions on independent thought. Very, very wary of restriction on independent thought, like freedom of speech, freedom of thought. People try to oppress that and restrict that. Those are the people you need to be very, very, very wary of. And so it's like, you can't say that. You can't think that. Like when it comes to like doing things, actions are different. But like saying things and thinking things, like say for example, like if okay, an extreme example where I'm like, okay, it's like kind of okay where you're saying like you can't yell bomb on a plane, like you can't yell like fire in a movie theater and just be like joking because people freak out, people could trample each other and like die. Like there's very, very serious consequences, things like that. Which like some people are like, oh, I'm just having fun, like doing this stuff. I'm like, that's stupid as fuck, don't do shit like that. So in those sort of situations, like it's understandable, like we're like saying certain things will definitely cause people to get hurt, most likely, or cause people to, at very least, even if nobody's getting trampled over, it's going to cause them to be panicked and everything like that. And it's be extremely inconveniencing and just not good in any way. So yeah, there's a lot more negative effects than positive ones. So in those cases, yeah, but when it comes to people like saying getting offended over like jokes or getting offended over like certain criticisms and things like that, like so I'll just should have a better gauge for it, but they just don't. Just I'd recommend. It sound cliche and recommend like reading, but yeah, like read or like just like whatever it is, however you obtain your information, whether that's reading, watching documentaries, talking to people, you're gathering information. I just recommend gathering information from different types of people, different types of sources, and multiple sources. And so you're not just getting information from limited viewpoints. And so you're able to kind of have a more well-rounded experience and thought process yourself. All right, and then finally, setting boundaries. Refuse to be pressured into extreme loyalty or unquestioning obedience. Very important. Yeah. Be loyal to those who are loyal to you. But as soon as they start trying to do things at your expense, they're as in check. Check. And after this was assignment and conglomerate notes. All right. I'm trying to catch. How to have a conversation. Watch this short TED Talk by Celeste Headlee. Take careful notes of the 10 basic rules she describes for having meaningful conversations with others.
See, a show of hands, how many of you have unfriended someone on Facebook because they said something offensive about politics or religion, childcare? I want to see. A show of hands, how many of you have unfriended someone on Facebook because they said something offensive about politics or religion, childcare, food? And how many of you know at least one person that you avoid because you just don't want to talk to them? You know, it used to be that in order to have a polite conversation, we just had to follow the advice of Henry Higgins and My Fair Lady, stick to the weather and your health. But these days, with climate change and anti-vaxxing, those subjects are not safe either. So this world that we live in, this world in which every conversation has the potential to devolve into an argument where our politicians can't speak to one another and where even the most trivial of issues have someone fighting both passionately for it and against it, it's not normal. Pew Research did a study of 10,000 American adults, and they found that at this moment, we are more polarized, we are more divided than we ever have been in history. We're less likely to compromise, which means we're not listening to each other. And we make decisions about where to live, who to marry, and even who our friends are going to be based on what we already believe. Again, that means we're not listening to each other. A conversation requires a balance between talking and listening, and somewhere along the way, we lost that balance. Now, part of that is due to technology, the smartphones that you all either had in your hands or close enough that you could grab them really quickly. According to Pew Research, about a third of American teenagers send more than 100 texts a day. And many of them, almost most of them, are more likely to text their friends than they are to talk to them face to face. There's this great piece in The Atlantic. It was written by a high school teacher named Paul Barnwell. And he gave his kids a communication project. He wanted to teach them how to speak on a specific subject without using notes. And he said this: I came to realize that conversational competence face to face. There's this great piece in The Atlantic. It was written by a high school teacher named Paul Barnwell. And he gave his kids a communication project. He wanted to teach them how to speak on a specific subject without using notes. And he said this: I came to realize that conversational competence might be the single most overlooked skill we fail to teach. Kids spend hours each day engaging with ideas and each other through screens, but rarely do they have an opportunity to hone their interpersonal communication skills. It might sound like a funny question, but we have to ask ourselves, is there any 21st century skill more important than being able to sustain coherent, confident conversation? Now, I make my living talking to people. Nobel Prize winners, truck drivers, billionaires, kindergarten teachers, heads of state, plumbers. I talk to people that I like. I talk to people that I don't like. I talk to some people that I disagree with deeply on a personal level, but I still have a great conversation with them. So I'd like to spend the next 10 minutes or so teaching you how to talk and how to listen. Many of you have already heard a lot of advice on this. Things like look the person in the eye, think of interesting topics to discuss in advance, nod and smile to show that you're paying attention. Repeat back what you just heard or summarize it. So I want you to forget all of that. It is crap. There is no reason to learn how to show you're paying attention if you are, in fact, paying attention. Now, I actually use the exact same skills as a professional
Reason to show you're paying attention if you're in fact paying attention.
interviewer that I do in regular life. So I'm going to teach you how to interview people, and that's actually going to help you learn how to be better conversationalists. Learn to have a conversation without wasting your time, without getting bored, and please God, without offending anybody. We've all had really great conversations. We've had them before. We know what it's like. The kind of conversation where you walk away feeling engaged and inspired, or where you feel like you've made a real connection or you've been perfectly understood. There is no reason why most of your interactions can't be like that. So I have 10 basic rules. I'm going to walk you through all of them. But honestly, if you just choose one of them and master it, you're already going to enjoy better conversations. Number one, don't multitask. And I don't mean just set down your cell phone or your tablet or your car keys or whatever's in your hand. I mean, be present. Be in that moment. Don't be thinking about your argument you had with your boss. Don't be thinking about what you're going to have for dinner. If you want to get out of the conversation, get out of the conversation, but don't be half in it and half out of it. Number two, don't pontificate. If you wanted to state your opinion without any opportunity for response or argument or pushback or growth, write a blog. Now, there's a really good reason why I don't allow pundits on my show, because they're really boring. If they're a conservative, they're going to hate Obama and food stamps and abortion. If they're a liberal, they're going to hate big banks and oil corporations and Dick Cheney. Totally predictable. And you don't want to be like that. You need to enter every conversation assuming that you have something to learn. The famous therapist Ed Scott Peck said that true listening requires a setting aside of oneself. And sometimes that means setting aside your personal opinion. He said that sensing this acceptance, the speaker will become less and less vulnerable and more likely to open up the inner recesses of his or her mind to the listener. Again, assume that you have something to learn. Bill Nye, everyone you will ever meet knows something that you don't. I put it this way. Everybody is an expert in something. Number three, use open and Questions. In this case, take a cue from journalists. Start your questions with who, what, where, when, why, or how. If you put in a complicated question, you're going to get a simple answer out. If I ask you, were you terrified? You're going to respond to the most powerful word in that sentence, which is terrified. And the answer is, yes, I was, or no, I wasn't. Were you angry? Yes, I was very angry. Let them describe it. They're the ones that know. Try asking them things like, what was that like? How did that feel? Because then they might have to stop for a moment and think about it. And you're going to get a much more interesting response. Number 4, go with the flow. Question, you're going to get a simple. Number 3, use open-ended questions. In this case, take a cue from journalists. Start your questions with who, what, where, when, why, or how. If you put in a complicated question, you're going to get a simple answer out. If I ask you, were you terrified? You're going to respond to the most powerful word in that sentence, which is terrified. And the answer is, yes, I was, or no, I wasn't. Were you angry? Yes, I was very angry. Let them describe it. They're the ones that know. Try asking them things like, what was that like? How did that feel? Because then they might have to stop for a moment and think about it. And you're going to get a much more interesting response. Number 4, go with the flow. That means thoughts will come into your mind and you need to let them go out of your mind. We've heard interviews often in which a guest is talking for several minutes and then the host comes back in and asks a question which seems like it comes out of nowhere or it's already been answered. That means the host probably stopped listening 2 minutes ago because he thought of this really clever question and he was just bound and determined to say that. And we do the exact same thing. We're sitting there having a conversation with someone and then we remember that time that we met Hugh Jackman in a coffee shop and we stop listening. Stories and ideas are going to come to you. You need to let them come and let them go. Number 5, if you don't know, say that you don't know. Now, people on the radio, especially on it, you need to let them come. And let them go. Number 5, if you don't know, say that you don't know. Now, people on the radio, especially on NPR, are much more aware that they're going on the record. And so they're more careful about what they claim to be an expert in and what they claim to know for sure. Do that. Err on the side of caution. Talk should not be cheap. Now, Number 6, don't equate your experience with theirs. If they're talking about having lost a family member, don't start talking about the time that you lost a family member. If you're talking about the trouble that they're having at work, don't tell them about how much you hate your job. It's not the same. It is never the same. All experiences are individual. And more importantly, it is not about you. You don't need to take that moment to prove how amazing you are or how much you've suffered. Somebody asked Stephen Hawking once what his IQ was, and he says, I have no idea. People who brag about their IQs are losers. Conversations are not a promotional opportunity. Number 7, try not to repeat yourself. It's condescending and it's really boring. And we tend to do it a lot, especially in work conversations or in conversations with our kids. We have a point to make, so we just keep rephrasing it over and over. Don't do that. Number 8, stay out of the weeds. Frankly, people don't care about the year. Over and over. Don't do that. Number 8, stay out of the weeds. Frankly, people don't care about the years, the names, the dates, all those details that you're struggling to come up with in your mind. They don't care. What they care about is you. They care about what you're like, what you have in common. So forget the details. Leave them out. Number 9, this is not the last one, but it is the most important one. Listen. I cannot tell you how many really important people have said that listening is perhaps the number one most important skill that you could develop. Buddha said, and I'm paraphrasing, if your mouth is open, you're not learning. And Calvin Coolidge said, no man ever listened his way out of a job. Why do we not listen to each other? Number 1, we'd rather talk. When I'm talking, I'm in control. I don't have to hear anything I'm not interested in. I'm the center of attention. I can bolster my own identity. But there's another reason. We get distracted. The average person talks at about 225 words per minute, but we can listen at up to 500 words. Per minute. So our minds are filling in those other 275 words. And look, I know it takes effort and energy to actually pay attention to someone. But if you can't do that, you're not in a conversation. You're just two people shouting out barely related sentences in the same place. You have to listen to one another. Stephen Covey said it very beautifully. He said, most of us don't listen with the intent to understand. We listen with the intent to reply. But if you can't do that, you're not in a conversation. You're just two people shouting out barely related sentences in the same place. You have to listen to one another. Stephen Covey said it very beautifully. He said, shouting out barely related sentences in the same place. You have to listen to one another. Stephen Covey said it very beautifully. He said, most of us don't listen with the intent to understand. We listen with the intent to reply.
I like this.
One
talk.
more rule, and number 10, and it's this one. Be brief. Number 10, and it's this one. Be brief.
A good conversation is like a mini skirt, short enough to retain interest, but long enough to cover the subject. Hell yeah. That's her sister. My sister. Oh, that's funny. Nailed it right on the head, sister.
Boils down to the same basic concept, and it is this one. Be interested in other people. You know, I grew up with a very famous grandfather, and there was kind of a ritual in my home. People would come over to talk to my grandparents, and after they would leave, my mother would come over to us and she'd say, do you know who that was? She was the runner-up to Miss America. He was the mayor of Sacramento. She won a Pulitzer Prize. He's a Russian ballet dancer. And I kind of grew up assuming everyone has some hidden amazing thing about them. And honestly, I think it's what makes me a better host. I keep my mouth shut as often as I possibly can. I keep my mind open, and I'm always prepared to be amazed, and I'm never disappointed. You do the same thing. Go out, talk to people, listen to people, and most importantly, be prepared to be amazed. Thanks.
My ringer was off. I just thought you tried to call. You're just getting off work. A couple hours ago, and I got plenty more food to get to eat in my fridge. Bible study or something like that. You can FaceTime me or something, but I was just gonna go down to maybe go down by the pool or something in a little bit. Oh shit! I'm just trying to take a break from this first, and then I was gonna go down there once it starts getting a little darker and cooler. That sounds good. I'll give you a call in a little bit. Love you too. Bye. All right, I had this assignment. I think this is the last I had to do. So good. All that. Well, I mean, not for today. I still got more stuff to do, but before take a little break. All right, so just to recap. So for Tuesday, July 14th, 2026, first major part. So first part, managerial accounting, chapter 21. Textbook reading A, high-low method. We also covered regression and comparing cost estimation methods. We watched a video on need to know for the high-low method. Smartbook, we covered concepts 18 through 26. In interpersonal communication, chapter 3, I covered personal social dispositions, loneliness, and social connection and solitude scale, or the SCSS. Also watched a TED Talk video by Celeste Headlee. That was a really good video. I actually really like that. Highly recommend it. 10 ways to have a better conversation. Then we just finished up the assignment right here, how to have a conversation. The Holy Bible, the New American Bible, Revised Edition. We read parts A through F. We read lands of the Bible for Egypt, Mesopotamia, Assyria, Babylonia, Persia, and Mesopotamia, Syria. Conglomerate and coalescence notes. Come back to that. Medicinal research, we cover the one-drop rule, the APA's DIMPACT report, and mechanics of indoctrination. Here, before I submit, I'm going to submit this, and then we'll be done with this video for now. All right. So, How to Have a Conversation by Quentin Scott Webb for Communications at COM 110, Interpersonal Communications. Number 1, which rule do you see other people violating when you're in a conversation with them? Provide an example to illustrate your point. The very first thing that came to mind before I even finished reading the question was almost every interaction I've ever had with my mother. I love her to death, but she's also one of the most frustrating people to try to have a conversation with because she doesn't make you feel like she's actually listening or understanding anything when you're talking to her. This violates rules number 4, go with the flow, and number 9, listen. To elaborate, she typically approaches every conversation with a head full of questions or things she wants to share and only seems to allow others time to talk so she can catch her breath to say more. She doesn't appear to listen with the intent to understand, but rather with the intent simply to reply. This makes me feel unheard and misunderstood, and frankly gives me the impression that the interaction was a total waste of time and energy. For years, I've tried to talk to her seriously to encourage her to be more receptive to the thoughts, feelings, and ideas of others, but it seems she may have tuned that out too. I do love my mom, though. I love her unconditionally. It's just, has a little trouble listening. So, and she's older, but we can still work with her. So it's considering that a failure on my part where I can still do more. So, 2, which rule do you see as one of your strengths when in conversation with others? Please provide a specific example to illustrate your point. The rule that resonates with me most that I recognize as a strength in my conversations with others is a toss-up between rule number 5, if you don't know, admit you don't know, and rule number 6, don't equate your experience with theirs. The reason I chose these as the top rules I adhere to is because I implement them constantly. First, when speaking to others, I notice that equating my experience with others, whether they've experienced something good or if they're experiencing something bad, never seems to be an appropriate tactic to compare my own experiences to theirs. If they have something they're happy to share, equating my experience with theirs can be perceived as me trying to one-up them On the other hand, if they're upset about something, sharing a similar horrible experience doesn't work either, because that person is typically just trying to be understood and empathized with, rather than someone telling them it could have been worse, or I know what that's like, because there are nuances in every individual person's experience. Second, I found that admitting when I'm wrong or when I don't know something is actually more of a tool than a setback. Being honest and open about my own gaps in knowledge can not only open the door to establish trust, but it can also allow the person I'm talking to the opportunity to share their own knowledge about the subject with me, to share what they might know that I don't. And number three, which rule do you need to follow better when communicating with others? Provide an explanation to support your choice. The most obvious rule I can apply is rule number 10. 10, be brief. I am well aware that once I start going, I have a tendency to keep that momentum going until someone stops me or gets my attention somehow. I've also noticed that even being marked down in some of my I've even been marked down in some of my assignments throughout my academic journey, because I write way too much and try to add extra information that I think is essential, but often causes me to lose points because I'm not following the instructions verbatim in doing so. This is my way of saying, like, yes, I'm acknowledging what regretting stuff. I still feel like it's kind of off, but rather be joking about it than hostile. So at least kind of shows her that I realize where she might be coming from. See, look at me empathizing. Look at that. So much progress. A lot of empathy. It's just like I feel like I've gotten to the point where it's like I've learned not to care as much. Just because, like, I don't know, if you're bombarded by like just negativity and rejection and like all these like all this bad shit, like you kind of get desensitized to it, and then you kind of develop this defense mechanism to like just like the not giving fucking mentality is more of a defense mechanism. It's like there's failures in other parts of your life, and so anybody's like, oh, I don't give a fuck, that's a defense mechanism. It's because of a deficiency in another part of their life, and like that saying alone highlights that. And so it's not that you don't give a fuck, it's that you lack an ability in a certain aspect of your life, and so that you're compensating for it by not giving a fuck in this way. So trying to play it cool, or just trying to pretend like you don't care when realistically we know you do. I've been there too, man. The second rule I know I can put some real effort into improving is rule number 3, ask open-ended questions. Most of my life, I've noticed that when people try to talk to me, I'm usually in my own head thinking, oh God, why are you talking to me? Or how much longer is this conversation going to drag on? Looking for a way out without even bothering to truly get to know and understand the individual speaking to me. Yeah, aware of that, and have been working on that for a while, made significant progress, and but again, still work to do. My psychiatrist and I have established that it's more of a defense mechanism I've learned to implement in reaction to the fear of rejection I've experienced at times. In other words, I used to be caught in this mentality where I thought that if I can reject them first, then they can't reject me, which is super unhealthy and antisocial behavior. Although I've made significant improvements in these areas over the years, I know there's still a lot more work I need to do to refine my communication skills with others. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and submit that. Let's get my confetti. Give me my confetti. My confetti. Ooh, I got horseshoes. Sweet. I should get some horseshoes. I have a box of horseshoes. Oh, I think they're at my folks' house. I think it's in the garage. I think we have them. They're just in the garage at their place. Even I have it. I literally have that. I'm like, I don't need horseshoes, man. I don't even use my disc golf. I should go do that. Yeah, I'm not feeling doing that right now. If I had somebody to do it with, I'd do it, but yeah, it'd be boring. I don't want to do that on my own. I'm good. Lame. All right. I know being independent and stuff like that, doing stuff individually is great, but I don't know, it's just boring to me. It's not really fun. Like I like being able to share the experience with others. All right, cool. Submitted. Bam. 6:02. It's already 6. All right. Am I hungry? Treat myself. I did good. Hey, it's Mark Rubio. Marco Rubio. Let's go. Marco. Polo. All right. I think we're all wrapped up. So I'll go ahead and end there. I'm gonna do my thing. You do yours. Cheers. And have a great day. That was for you. All right. Bye. Woohoo! Wrapped up.